If you're building out your Homelab in 2026, here are my picks for the best containers you should be running. We're going to look at everything from Docker management, media automation, access tools, monitoring and updates, and utilities. I'm your host, Evan. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about managing your containers. The best Docker container managers I love are Dockge, Dockhand, and Arcane. Let's start by looking at Dockge. Dockge is the default I use for almost all of my videos because my videos are aimed at beginners, and so is Dockge. It's a very simple UI. You just get a list of all your stacks down the left side. You get a terminal in the middle, and on the right you see the compose.yaml. It has some advanced features like being able to bash directly into the running container from here, or using multiple environments and managing from a single interface. The reason I like Dockge is it's super simple. It doesn't do anything other than basically just deploy stacks, which is what 99% of people do anyway. If you want more advanced features, you should be looking at something like Dockhand. Dockhand is a big step up from Dockge for users who are more comfortable with Docker. It has a UI and feature set more like Tugtainer, with tabs down the left side for giving you visibility into all aspects of managing Docker. Its UI is very dense and information heavy, and almost everything can be clicked to give you a pop-up window with even more information. It includes some nice to have things like automatic updates, as well as a built-in security scanner for Docker images. For users who have graduated from Dockge and want full control and visibility, I like Dockhand the most right now. If you want to be somewhere in the middle, go ahead and check out Arcane. Arcane is another great container manager for those coming from Dockge. It also lets you import existing stacks, has an automatic updater, and lets you manage multiple environments. It has a more simple UI than Dockhand, however you still get a powerful container manager capable of advanced options. Last year, Arcane was unable to work with existing stacks, but since then the developer has been hard at work making it more compatible with other container managers, as well as truenas specifically. Up next is media automation. My favorites for a hands-off experience are Sonarr, Radarr, Hunter, and QU. There are many more Arr Stack apps on the wiki, or the Arr Stack video linked below. The Patreon channel also has over 50 videos covering media management alone. First, let's look at Sonarr. Sonarr is the gold standard for TV show automation. You add a show, set your quality profile, and Sonarr handles the rest. It monitors RSS feeds from your sources, renames them to your preferred format, and organizes them into your library structure, and has a calendar view to show you what's coming up across all your shows. Now to the opposite of Sonarr, which is Radarr. Radarr does the same thing for movies that Sonarr does for TV. A note on Radarr and Sonarr: these apps haven't been updated in quite a while, and many projects have sprung up recently seeking to remedy that. A couple of projects have taken the lead on this, but the dark horse is the Arr team. They have announced they are making a full-on replacement for Radarr and Sonarr, but have yet to set a release date. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel to get the update when it is announced. If that sounds interesting, check out their latest project, QU. QBitTorrent is the most highly recommended torrent client today, but the default web interface is functional but dated. QU is a modern replacement from the Arr team that changes how you interact with your torrent client. It's a standalone application that connects to QBitTorrent as a client, giving you a clean interface with real-time updates and multiple theme options. But here's what makes it special. QU now supports cross-seeding as well as torrent management for orphan files. This eliminates the need for containers like cross-seed and cleanupper or qubit manage. All that functionality is now built into QU and is simple to set up within the interface. QU also includes backup and restore functionality. You can snapshot your entire qubit state, including torrents, categories, and tags, and then restore to that point if something goes wrong. For anyone serious about their torrent automation setup, QU is absolutely worth it. Once these foundational containers are installed, we can move on to filling the gaps in our media library with Hunter. If you have content that's missing from your library, Hunter can be the fix for that. It scans your folders, identifies issues, and triggers the appropriate actions needed to remedy those issues. It works in small batches, it's rate limited, and it respects your existing monitored settings. Think of it as the difference between waiting for mail to arrive versus actually going to the post office to check if your package is there. Hunter resolves a lot of user complaints about features that Sonarr and Radarr don't natively provide. If you've ever looked at your library and wondered why nothing was happening about those gaps, this is what you've been missing. My picks for streaming media servers are Jellyfin and Plex. Let's look at Jellyfin. For actually consuming your media, Jellyfin is the fully open source option. No subscriptions, no accounts, no phone home telemetry. It handles movies, TV shows, music, photos, and live TV. The transcoding works well if you need to stream to devices that can't direct play your files. There's hardware acceleration support for Intel QuickSync, NVIDIA, and AMD. The plugin ecosystem lets you add features like intro skipping, collection management, and third-party metadata providers. If you believe your media server shouldn't require a subscription or depend on external authentication servers, Jellyfin is your answer. However, if you're looking for a more unified experience, head over to Plex. Plex might be considered a controversial pick since Jellyfin has dominated the self-hosted media streaming conversation, but I think Plex still has a place in some users' home labs. I actually like the recent redesign of the applications, which is a controversial take. It's easier to deploy across multiple devices, and onboarding people you want to share your library with is genuinely smoother. If you want to stream outside your home, you'll need Plex Pass, which is the premium tier. But Plex Pass has a lifetime option, not just monthly. It's $250 for a lifetime pass, but it pays for itself in about 10 months if you're canceling even one premium streaming subscription. It's undeniable that Plex is easier to configure for users who aren't as tech savvy and just want a simple media streaming setup. That reason alone is why it makes this list. For a lot of people, the trade-off of having to pay and the direction the company is going with pushing other services to users against their will just isn't worth it. But that's not true for everybody. Next, let's look at apps to help network everything together. My favorite networking apps are Pangolin, Tailscale, and Netbird. Let's start by looking at Pangolin. Pangolin is a self-hosted alternative to Cloudflare tunnels. It creates encrypted WireGuard tunnels from your local network to a VPS you control, so you can expose services without opening ports on your home router. This is huge if you're behind CGNAT or just don't want to punch holes in your firewall. The dashboard lets you manage sites, resources, and users with granular access control. You can set up SSO, require authentication on specific resources, and generate shareable links. It uses traffic under the hood for a reverse proxy layer and handles Let's Encrypt certificates automatically. If you've been using Cloudflare tunnels and want to own the entire stack yourself, Pangolin is the path forward. I recommend Pangolin for people who need to use things like media streaming but can't use Cloudflare tunnels because it's against their terms of service. If you're looking for networking that gets you back into your network and just you instead of the entire world, you want to look for something like Tailscale. For self-hosted VPNs, I've chosen two, and Tailscale is hands down the more mature one of those two. Tailscale remains the easiest way to create a mesh VPN across all your devices. You install the client, authenticate, and your devices can talk to each other regardless of what network they're on. There is no port forwarding, no dynamic DNS, and no fighting with NAT. It uses WireGuard for the actual encryption, but handles all the coordination and NAT traversal for you. The free tier is generous enough for most home labs with 100 endpoints and 3 users. You can access your home server from your phone on cellular, from your laptop at the coffee shop, or really from anywhere you have an internet connection. If you just want remote access that works without thinking about it, Tailscale is hard to beat. There is a new up-and-comer out of Germany called Netbird. Even though Tailscale is the more mature app, I personally run Netbird for my mesh VPN. I chose it because I like the interface much more. What is not similar is access controls. In Tailscale, it's a JSON file, but in Netbird, it's all point-and-click web UI, which I find to be much more user-friendly. The technology behind Netbird is WireGuard, just like Tailscale. The web dashboard gives you visibility into your network, lets you manage peers, and configure access policies. Another big differentiator for Netbird is self-hosting. You can self-host Headscale to run Tailscale, but the interfaces for that lag far behind Netbird. The Netbird self-hosted UI is the exact same as the dashboard you see here, which is the free version they host for me. Lastly, I want to point out some useful apps you may want to self-host. They are Dozzle, Tugtainer, NextExplorer, Code Server, and Immich. Let's start with Dozzle. For monitoring, Dozzle is still my favorite way to watch Docker container logs in real time. It's a tiny container that gives you a web interface to stream logs from any container on your host. No storage, no database, no log aggregation complexity. You just open it and pick a container and watch the log scroll. When something breaks in the morning, you need to see what's happening right now, Dozzle is what you want. It's not a replacement for proper log aggregation if you need that, but for quick troubleshooting, nothing beats it. After you've got your logging taken care of, next is updates with Tugtainer. Keeping containers updated is a balance between staying current and not breaking things. Tugtainer gives you a web UI to manage that process. It shows you which containers have updates available, lets you decide per container whether to update or just notify, and handles the actual update process, including stopping dependents in the right order. You can schedule checks for specific times so updates don't happen during peak usage, and it supports multiple hosts through agents, so you can manage your entire Homelab from one dashboard. It's basically the web UI front end for Watchtower, but what about moving files around within your server? For something like that, you'd want to use a front end called NextExplorer. For file management, NextExplorer is the modern self-hosted file browser that actually feels like software from this decade. You can share files and folders with links, either read-only, read-write, and manage permissions per user or per group. It supports OIDC if you want SSO integration for something like Authentic. The search is backed by ripgrep, so it's actually fast even for content searches inside of files. If you've been using the original file browser and want something more polished, NextExplorer is the better choice. While this is a great front end for file management, there are times when I'm doing things which are more code heavy. And when I'm working with code, I want to be in something that's built for it, like Code Server. As opposed to NextExplorer, Code Server lets you run VS Code in your browser. And it's the full-on VS Code experience, extensions and all, accessible from any device with a web browser. This is perfect for editing configs on your server without the need to SSH or use Nano or Vim or VI. I use it for quick config edits on the go, but some people run it as their primary development environment. For the very last container of this video, let's look at something fun like photo management with Immich. Immich is the self-hosted Google Photos replacement that actually delivers. Automatic backup from your phone, facial recognition, location-based organization, and a timeline view that feels familiar if you're coming from Google Photos. The machine learning features run locally, your photos never leave your server. The mobile apps are solid, the web interface is clean, and the project moves fast with regular releases. If you've been looking for a reason to get your photos off of Google servers, Immich is mature enough now that there is no excuse. They also have recently released their first stable version, so if you had issues with breaking changes from an earlier time, that's not a problem anymore. There's a lot of different ways to manage photos out there. Immich is my personal favorite. I run it. I also run other additions to it like Immich Drop, so I can get photos from other people into my library with almost no friction whatsoever. That's my list of essential containers for 2026. Every one of these is actively maintained and adds real value to your stack. What containers are you running that didn't make this list? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Check out our Homelab tour video to see how I'm using some of these containers in my own setup. I'm going to include a link to that video in the video description. If you want to see content that YouTube won't let us show, head over to Patreon. You will also find that link in the video description below. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious.